Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Skyblock News. I'm your host, Derailious, and today we're going to be going over Skyblock Update 0.26.1, which includes the Healing Revamp, a bunch of Harvest Feast changes, and some early game improvements. I've already made videos about this update on the Alpha Network, so I won't go over every change specifically in this video, just going over the big picture points and the larger changes to go over today. Before we begin though, make sure to like and subscribe, use code RAIL on the Hypixel store for 5% off your order, and without any further ado, let's get started. To begin here today, we're going to be going over the changes to the barn as well as the Mushroom Desert. As you can see, they've done some improvements to the barn in terms of the visuals. The place just looks a whole lot better. The barn itself was reworked. And there's also this new guy over here, the Husbandry Merchant. He, like all of the other baseline NPCs like the Farm Merchant, the Mining Merchant, the Combat Merchant, etc., they all sell beginner sacks now, which are super cheap as you can see. You can also craft them if you want to. Put them in your sacks, allows you to store some items. I very much like this feature. It's very nice. Also, he sells a bunch of the basic animal axes. If you want to get the advanced ones, you will still need to bring an animal Jake, but this is a good step for new players. And as you can see, the Desert Settlement has also received a bunch of changes, as has the Oasis and pretty much everywhere else in the Mushroom Desert. If you do /recipe Healy to look at Helianthus, you can find out something kind of interesting. Now you can click through and go down and down and down to the first armor set you get for farming. As you can see, the first armor set is Farmhand Armor, and it's crafted with a bunch of wheat. The upgrade to this armor is Haymaker. It's crafted with a bunch of enchanted wheat, as you can see. Then you can get Sprout with a bunch of enchanted carrots. And then you get Tater Armor with a bunch of enchanted potatoes. And that upgrades into Crappie. So this Tater Armor is the replacement for Melon Armor. If you had Melon Armor before, you should have Tater now. I like this system a whole lot more. It's going to make the basic progression for farming a lot easier to understand for new players and even existing players. This is a great system. Rabbit Armor has also received a few updates. As you can see, it now focuses on jump boost, and the crafting recipe is just a bunch of rabbit hide. But this should be a little bit different than the old rabbit gear, which was focused on farming fortune. The accessory bag also got a few changes with this update. Players start with 9 accessory bag slots by default, and as you can see, the redstone collection has been trimmed down a lot, and you get 6 more accessory bag slots for every tier, from 2 all the way up to 9. They've also made a few more changes. Notably, they've renamed magical power over to accessory power, and if you click on pretty much any accessory in the game, you can see that that accessory power is now displayed. There is also this new pet item, Magic for Pets in a Hurry. It gives you 20 speed and 50 intelligence, and it's crafted with an enchanted rabbit hide, as well as some enchanted paper. As for the last major change, players are no longer directed to Fisherwoman Enid. Instead, they start the Bartender's quest first. And the Bartender now gives players an undead sword when they first start the quest. This should make the intro to Skyblock a whole lot better. In terms of new items, one of the most interesting is the Orchid Mantis pet. This is supposed to be an early to mid-game farming pet that takes floral gelatin in order to craft, and as you can see, its first perk gives you some more farming tool XP. It'll also have 30 speed and 15 overbloom when maxed out. And if you level it up and you get its other perks, the second perk is Swift Sickles, which grants up to 1 farming fortune for every 3 speed you have. And the third perk is Orchid Nectar, which grants up to a 0.02% chance to find jelly or plant matter when farming. It's crafted and upgraded once again using floral gelatin, and if you want to upgrade it, you got to bring it over to Cat and give a lot more floral gelatin in. Blooming Thorns is another new item that applies the Thorny Reforge when combined with equipment, which gives you some Overbloom and some farming fortune. It also grants an additional 0.1 Overbloom per tier of Thorns on all of your armor pieces. And as you can see, it's crafted with a bunch of Thorn Shade, Cactus Flower, Thorn Fragments, and compacted Wild Roses. The Feast Burger with a side of deep fries is crafted using enchanted hay bales, feast fungus, cornucopias, and deep fries, and it's a consumable that you can consume to get +1 overbloom up to 5 total times. There have also been some changes to the Sprayinator. As you can see, there is now a menu when you click on the Sprayinator. You're able to just select whatever you would like, and there's also 3 different nozzles for the Sprayinator: the basic nozzle, the juicy nozzle, and the salty nozzle. For the basic nozzle, it's pretty much the exact same thing you would expect. The juicy nozzle allows you to consume 3 materials to grant the following buffs: 50 bonus pest chance while in a sprayed plot, and twice as likely for pests to spawn in the sprayed plots. And if you want this thing, all you need to get is a bunch of melon together. It's not overly expensive, just a bunch of melon slices, but you can then take that juicy nozzle, go over to Skymart and Pests, and boom, there you go. You can get that juicy sprayinator for the juicy nozzle, the base sprayinator, and 1000 copper. If you get a salty nozzle, 10,000 copper, and the juicy sprayinator, you can get the salty sprayinator. And if you want that one, you would need to get the nozzle, which costs a bunch of salted sunflower seeds. If you get this though, and you properly apply it to your sprayinator, the bonus goes up to 75 bonus pest chance, and 3 times as likely for pests to spawn in those sprayed plots. Buzzy Bee's fantabulous disco destination has survived, but only barely. Now it only works on offline pests. It does not work for active pest farming. And due to this, the recipe has changed. It's only going to be 80 bot roots now, as well as 3 cheese bites and a jukebox. There is also the Super Jacob Entertainment System. This is an item that can be used as a minion upgrade. You can place it in one farming minion and it will generate a Jacob's ticket every 3 hours. In order to make it, you will need 1 Plant Boy Advance, 3 enchanted iron blocks, 2 chirping stereos, 32 enchanted paper, and 64 bot root. This is effectively an upgrade to the old minion upgrade, the Jacob's Participation Medal, and now that old medal has been made legacy. So you will need to make this new one if you want the permanent upgrade. In terms of other farming related changes on the forms, the big ones are, you can no longer fuse into the Cocoa Leech Shard. The Lucky Clover and Poignant Lucky Clover now give +7 and +13 Overbloom respectively. Overpriced drinks are now crafted with 8 Agordians and 8 designer coffee beans instead of 14 Agordians, and they've also changed around a few pets. The Mythic Elephant now grants an additional 50 farming fortune to the base stats, and Abundant Harvest has been buffed to 20% bonus sawdust. The Mushroom pet has also been changed. They got rid of the first perk and shifted the first 2 perks up. They've added a new third perk, Bovine Blessing, which grants up to a 0.02% chance to find cheese or dung when farming. They've also slightly nerfed the base farming fortune and fixed the scaling. I think this is a 10 farming fortune nerf. For the bee pet, they have replaced the weaponized honey perk with Honey Harvester, which grants up to a 0.02% chance to find honey jars when farming. They've halved the amount of floral gelatin needed to craft royal jelly. Bee now sells honey dippers to upgrade your common bee pet instead of selling the higher rarities directly, and they've changed the default skin to be a little bit closer to the base Minecraft skin. And as for some other changes, there are now 4 crops per season instead of 3 during harvest feasts. They have slightly nerfed the rare finder chip as they have added overbloom in other places. Now it gives 50 overbloom at max instead of 60. They've added 5 carnival tickets to each donation tier for the harvest feast. They have buffed the NPC sell price of all feast rare crops to 50,000 coins. You can now shift right-click Locust Larva to consume the stack held in your hand, and they've increased the difficulty of the Feast Brothers Abaphone contacts from easy to medium in your Skyblock menu. Next up, we have the Healing Revamp, and there's a lot of stuff here, and I won't be going over every single change. I've covered all of these in the prior videos. Not much of this stuff is different from the alpha, but what I will go over is the baseline functionality of the new system. Vitality no longer boosts healing as a multiplier. Having more vitality will still increase the amount of healing you have, but in a different way. Vitality is a resource now. The more vitality you have, the more frequently you can activate healing items. Players have a base vitality stat of 100. The more vitality you have from various sources, the more vitality you'll have available on a moment-to-moment basis. So, vitality is still a stat that you want to build if you want to heal more. Having more vitality means you can activate more healing abilities. It's now, once again, a resource akin to mana. Your vitality stat defines the maximum amount of vitality that you have. Activating an ability that costs vitality depletes the resource, and that vitality will regenerate every second. It regenerates at a base of 5% per second, based on your vitality stat. So if you have 100 vitality, you get 5 per second. If you have 120, you get 6 per second. And if you have 200, you gain 10 per second. When you first use an ability that costs vitality, the stat message unlock will appear, explaining how it works. I've seen a lot of players say, why was this needed? This isn't needed at all. Why are we getting a healing revamp? Why is this changing? The reason is very simple. The abundance of healing in the older versions of Skyblock made damage not stick to players. A mob could do 8,000 damage to you, get you down to 100 HP, and you could be back up to full in less than a second. Due to this, large amounts of damage were required to compensate for the availability of healing. To threaten death to the player, enemies needed to do more damage, and that meant there were a lot of one-shot mechanics in Skyblock, which the team does not like working with, and they don't want to create in future content. They want you to actively think about what you're doing, how you're going to heal, how you're losing HP. They want the content to be more enjoyable and more thoughtful, and because of that, they needed to change out healing. Because of this fundamental change, pretty much every single healing related item in Skyblock has been completely overhauled. Let's look at the Gloomlock Grimoire, for example. The 40% max HP has now gone to 1000 HP for 45 vitality with no cooldown. They've removed the overflow mana cost from the Gloomlock Grimoire, they've removed the damage debuff off of life tap, and the activation cost has been adjusted from 25% max HP for life tap down to just 800 HP. This is like pretty much every single other healing item. All of them have been adjusted to make more sense in this new system. I recommend you go through and look over all of this, or look at the first video I made on this. I cover everything in detail, all of these changes. Pretty much nothing has changed from the alpha to today, except for maybe the mana enchants, but I still went over these in the second video on this, I believe. They've also made tweaks to Mastiff Armor and the Pooch Sword as part of this, but don't worry, there is a change to Plasma for those who are worried about ghost killing. We'll go over that in a minute. Well, if you're going to lower the healing of the player base, you have to also lower the damage from most of the mobs, and they have indeed done so. And if you look at Slayers specifically, they've also added a heal that you get when you kill a Slayer boss. So if you kill a tier 5 Slayer boss and you're Slayer level 8, you'll get 200 HP for 10 seconds. So 200 every second for 10 seconds. If you kill a tier 4 boss and you're Slayer level 6, you'll get 160 HP for 9 seconds. This is a relatively simple table to understand. They've also made a bunch of adjustments to the Slayers as a whole, specifically Tarantula Slayer, Enderman Slayer, and Blaze, all of which got nerfed in terms of damage very significantly. Blaze did not feel bad to do at all. Enderman Slayer felt about the same for me, but I've heard from other people at a lower level that it might be a little bit tougher. The team is going to continue to be looking into this over the next week or so. Looking over at dungeons, pretty much everything got changed here. They've also changed out the stat boost curves of dungeon. So, for example, when you level up your dungeon's catacombs level, you actually get a bonus to your stats on your gear. And that stat curve has been changed significantly to basically make it so for those in the middle kata levels, anywhere from kata level 10 to 15, all the way up to kata 45, you get very significant stat boost increases. This should make dungeons as a whole a little bit easier to get into and a little bit easier to survive in. You also get some more damage. Once again, the goal here is to basically make catacombs levels a lot easier to understand, a lot easier to get through, and make the floors more tolerable for those players. It should be a lot easier to progress through the catacombs now from scratch. The team continues to go over pretty much every other change they have made to dungeons, Crimson Isle mini-bosses, Kudra, sea creatures, the mythological ritual, dragons in the end, glaciite mobs, and the campfire challenges, and a whole bunch of other changes on the Spider's Den. Again, I went over the vast majority of these already in the prior videos. Check those out if you want to, or check out the thread for specific numbers. But basically, you can hop in game and test them whenever you want. If something feels like it's doing way too much damage to you, either look into what you're using in terms of vitality or your healing, look into how defensive your setup is, or if it really feels bad, like I've seen a few issues in dungeons already, make a bug report. If something is doing a ridiculous amount of true damage to you, and in terms of the plasma problem that I've seen some people talking about, they have added plasma to the Mithril Grubber's loot pool at a 2.5% rate per kill, and the higher tiers give you more. I believe the maximum legendary variant of the Mithril Grubber gives you 12 plasma. This should be more efficient than killing ghosts, and that's okay. It's balanced around players who have a very small amount of fishing progression, so having more stats will speed up this grind significantly. They've also made it so that explosive arrows no longer damage yourself and they've changed the refrigerate cost from Inery to require less volcanic rocks. And in terms of the Demon Slayer Gauntlet, they have increased the true defense from 5 up to 20, and it now increases damage against infernal mobs by 1.15x. Very, very nice. The team is also hoping to have the alpha network open for the Taurus Canyon update soon, with lots of changes. Wrapping up here, I think the healing revamp was absolutely a necessity for the team to continue to design new combat experiences. I think it all makes sense. I think there's probably a few bugs associated with it right now, but that was going to happen no matter what. There was going to be some amount of issues posted to main whenever this update was going to drop. In terms of the Harvest Feast changes, specifically the disco changes, I would have loved to see a refund for the part of the disco with the salted sunflower seeds. You could have given them back to people in a soulbound state, allow people to use them on the new item, and the team just decided not to do that. Makes no sense to me. I don't know why they didn't refund people. I think it would have been totally fine for them to do so, especially since those players are getting a nerf anyway. In terms of the early game changes, I think everything there is very solid. I think people are pretty happy about that, but the farming community is pretty upset about the disco changes, as well as the fact that pests can now spawn in the greenhouse plots. They can't be actually summoned there with like a sprayinator or something, but they can spawn there, which is notable and does prevent you from putting that, one plot in the corner sort of trick. Would love to hear what you think about this whole update, though, down below. And are you looking forward to future updates like the Taurus Canyon and other combat updates? Leave your thoughts down below once again. Look to the future, fellas. I'll see you then.